Scientifically developed, pup approved. The content is solely designed to appeal to man's best friend. Let your dog sit around TV and be stimulated and entertained by the exciting movements and objects. Or simply chill them out with soothing sounds and images. Just sit back and enjoy the fun of watching TV with your pooches. Dog TV, Saturday and Sunday nights at 8 on ViuTVSix. Provocative stories that have changed lives. Insightful interviews with notable figures from the worlds of news, politics, and entertainment. ViuTV6 brings you one of the most esteemed news magazines, ABC News 2020. Sunday night at 9:30 on ViuTV6.
Hi there, and a very good evening to you. I'm Patrick Polk in Hong Kong. You're watching ViuTV News. Coming up on tonight's show, the city's flagship carrier Cathay Pacific to cut about 400 non-managerial jobs as part of a restructuring plan to lay off 600 workers. LegCo votes down motion to impeach Chief Executive CY Leung. And ahead of the highly anticipated U.S. Senate's Intelligence Committee hearing, a James Comey statement quotes Trump calling the Russia probe a cloud impairing his ability to operate as president. All right, first up, Cathay Pacific is set to slash about 400 jobs as part of its restructuring plan laid out last month. Together with the firing of around 190 management roles in May, it marks the loss-making company's biggest cut in 2 decades. According to an internal message to staff, the affected positions are non-managerial. The airline says neither crew members nor staff from engineering, human resources, finance and administrative departments will be cut. Cathay's local staff union urged the carrier to pay 3 months of wages to the lowest paid workers affected, more than the usual 1 month's pay. Civic Party lawmaker Jeremy Tam voiced concerns about the company's safety priorities.
Even though this has not affected those working in back office at the moment, it has put a lot of mental pressure on them. When companies are restructuring themselves, maintaining service quality is key, especially for airlines. It is a must to put air safety as the top priority. I hope the carrier will work on it.
Next, well, a little surprise here, but pro-democracy lawmakers have failed to trigger impeachment proceedings against Chief Executive CY Leung. 28 Pan Democrats who accuse Leung of a dereliction of duty voted in favor of the motion, but 34 pro-establishment lawmakers were against it. Leung was under fire for secretly asking DAB lawmaker Holden Chow to amend the investigation scope of a LegCo probe into a payment he received from Australian firm UGL. Concluding the debate, Chief Secretary Matthew Cheung told lawmakers to stop their bickering.
It's obvious that there were no grounds to initiate the impeachment proceedings. This debate was all about politics. I sincerely hope lawmakers can put aside these political fights. Before pushing for an impeachment motion, lawmakers should first objectively review the work that's been done by the Chief Executive and his administration.
All right, to news elsewhere now. And early this morning, North Korea had yet another test launch, this time land-to-ship missiles. This comes a day after South Korea announced it would postpone deploying the remaining parts of the controversial THAAD system. Grace Lee reports.
More missiles fired from North Korea's east coast on Thursday, apparently short-range rockets designed to target enemy ships. It's the latest in the country's fast-paced series of long, medium, and short-range missile tests, and comes less than a week after the UN hit the regime with even more sanctions. Seoul and Washington are monitoring the situation closely.
It looks like they're trying to showcase their variety of missiles and their ability to target vessels ahead of our joint sea exercises with the U.S. Navy.
It's the 4th missile test from Pyongyang since South Korean President Moon Jae-in took office 2 months ago, and comes a day after Seoul announced it will hold off installing the remaining parts of THAAD, the controversial U.S. anti-missile system designed to blow North Korean rockets out of the sky. Officials say the project has been suspended while they assess THAAD's environmental impact, a review that could take well over a year. The decision comes after a probe revealed that the South Korean military hid the rollout of additional launchers from the president, and it's not going to be popular in Washington. The U.S. is urging South Korea to hasten the THAAD deployment, saying its mission is critical to protecting South Korea.
And to the highly anticipated U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee hearing next, which will see former FBI Director James Comey testify later today. In written remarks released ahead of the hearing, Comey revealed that U.S. President Donald Trump asked him to back off from a probe into the ex-National Security Advisor's ties with Russia. Comey quoted Trump in the statement saying the Russia investigation was a cloud impairing his ability to operate as president. The ex-FBI director also said the president told him he needed loyalty. However, a legal analyst says Comey's testimony doesn't necessarily have a smoking gun to prove Trump did anything illegal.
What this could mean in the political sense may be different from what it means in the criminal sense. In the political sense, it's very disturbing. It's disturbing that President Trump doesn't realize his role and that the FBI is supposed to be independent of him. That doesn't mean, however, that we're going to end up with criminal charges against President Trump.
Well, in response to Comey's statement, Trump's attorney said the president felt totally vindicated. He was referring to Comey's acknowledgement that he told the president he was not personally under investigation. Despite all the drama, the ex-FBI head is not expected to drop any major new bombshells or directly accuse Trump of trying to obstruct justice. For more on what's expected of today's hearing, let's hear from our New York correspondent, Jade Barker.
Well, the word that many who are close to the former FBI chief are using is cautious. Legal sources say that James Comey will likely hold back from making direct accusations against President Trump. Rather, Comey is expected to present himself as a fact witness, simply describing his interactions with the president, and will leave the legal analysis to others. But he is expected to say that Trump asked him during a private meeting to end the FBI's probe into ties between former White House National Security Advisor Michael Flynn and Russia, and may also detail other conversations that Comey had with Trump. Legal experts also say that Comey will try to avoid compromising a new inquiry led by Special Counsel Robert Mueller or separate congressional investigations. But despite all this cautiousness, many expect Comey's testimony to be a turning point in a controversy that has rocked the Trump administration.
Jade Barker there in New York. And meantime, House Democrats are about to begin the formal process to trigger impeachment proceedings against Trump. Representatives Al Green and Brad Sherman claimed he obstructed justice in the government's investigation into Russian interference in the U.S. election.
We live in a country where no congressman, no senator, and not even the president of the United States of America is above the law. This is all about maintaining a society wherein all persons are created equal and treated equally.
Well, meanwhile, Trump has finally ended a month-long search for the next FBI director to replace James Comey. His pick, white-collar crime lawyer Christopher Wray, a former Justice Department official from 2003 to 2005, Wray was recently in the spotlight for defending New Jersey Governor Chris Christie in the Bridgegate scandal. Trump called Wray an impeccably qualified individual and believed he will serve, quote, as a fierce guardian of the law and model of integrity. Wray is to be confirmed to the post by the Senate before taking office. Well, now on the Gulf crisis, the Qatari government said its state news agency was hacked and false statements which fueled a rift with other Arab powers were posted on its website. And U.S. media reports are pointing the finger at Russia. The Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov was quick to deny the Kremlin was responsible for the hacking, calling the American news media sources mass disinformation. Reports say the false statements include Qatar's emir cautioning against confronting Iran, as well as defending the Palestinian group Hamas and Hezbollah, a Lebanese Shiite movement allied with Tehran. The hacking revelations come as Qatar struggles with its worst diplomatic crisis in years, with the United Arab Emirates now mulling an economic embargo against Doha. Okay, time now to check out the latest from the world of business with Joel Flynn. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Paddy. A quick look at the markets to kick off. Shrugging off worries in the West to finish higher here in Hong Kong. The Hang Seng finished the day up more than 1/3%, pushing through 26,000. Consumer cyclicals, the big source of growth on the stock index. One of the standout performers, meanwhile, as we talked about earlier, Cathay. Investors clearly pleased by plans for job cutting there. Shares in the flagship carrier up more than 6% at the close. Now, new developments on the long-drawn-out sale of Toshiba's prized chip business. The company says it's aiming to name a winner for the unit by next week, according to sources familiar with the matter. The news comes as a row with one of the bidders over the sale appeared to escalate. Partner Western Digital accuses Toshiba of a serious breach of contract over the joint venture. Together with a Japanese government-linked consortium, Western Digital is in the running to buy out the business, along with US chipmaker Broadcom and tech fund Silver Lake. The global economy is set to grow 3.5% this year before nudging up to 3.6% in 2018. Good news, presumably, according to forecast by the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD. It still falls disappointingly short, though, of rates seen before the 2008 global financial crisis. The organisation said trade and investment flows were supporting the improving economic outlook, but it warned also that barriers in the form of protectionism and regulations needed to be lifted to ensure stronger global growth. Ministers from about 70 major economies also signed a new tax pact at the OECD gathering in Paris. It's aimed at preventing multinational companies from treaty shopping for jurisdictions most favourable to their tax bills. That's as companies increasingly send cross-border transactions through third countries, only to take advantage of their low taxes. China has reported stronger than anticipated exports and imports for May, despite falling global commodity prices. Exports rose 8.7% from a year earlier. That's while imports demanded 14.8%. The figure suggests the economy is holding up better than expected, despite rising lending